Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Let me ask you something. Have you ever studied English for years, memorized vocabulary, practiced grammar, but when it's time to actually speak, your brain suddenly freezes? You know the words, but they don't come out. You translate in your head, you hesitate, and by the time you're ready to respond, the conversation has already moved on. I know exactly how that feels because I went through it myself. But everything changed when I stopped studying English only as a subject and started training my brain to actually think in English. Today, I want to share with you the exact process I followed to reprogram my brain step by step, so English became a natural language inside my head, not something I constantly had to translate. By the end of this video, you'll know the strategies I use daily to make English automatic, and how you can apply them to your own life, even if you're busy, even if you're shy, and even if you've struggled for years. So let's dive right in. Section 1. Why thinking in English matters. First, let's talk about why thinking in English is so important. When you learn a new language, most people start by translating everything from their native language into English. For example, if your first language is Hindi, Spanish, or Arabic, you might think of a sentence in your language first, and then try to translate it into English. But this translation process is slow. It makes you hesitate. It stops you from sounding natural. And sometimes direct translation doesn't even work, because English sentences are structured differently. That's why you need to train your brain to think directly in English. When you do that, words and sentences flow naturally, without stopping to translate. You become faster, more fluent, and more confident. So, how do we train the brain to think in English daily? Let me share the exact steps. Section 2. Start small, words and phrases. When I first started, I didn't try to think in full sentences right away. That would have been overwhelming. Instead, I started small with simple words and short phrases. For example, I looked around the room and named objects in English. Table, chair, window, phone. Just simple recognition. Then I added short phrases to my daily thoughts. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I need water. These are things I thought every day, so replacing them with English was easy. The key is to make English part of your everyday thinking in a natural way. Even if it's just single words at first, your brain starts building the habit of using English automatically. Section 3. Use English for daily decisions. The next step I used was making small daily decisions in English. For example, if I was choosing what to eat, I'd think, should I eat rice or bread? If I was planning my day, I'd think, first, I'll study. Then, I'll go for a walk. These small decisions happen all the time, so they're the perfect chance to train your brain. You don't need to speak out loud. Just think in English silently as you go about your day. The more I practiced this, the more natural it became. Over time, my brain stopped using my native language for these everyday choices and switched to English automatically. Section 4. Shadowing technique. Another powerful method I used was shadowing. Shadowing means listening to native English speakers through podcasts, movies, or YouTube videos, and repeating what they say immediately, copying their tone, rhythm, and pronunciation. At first, I felt silly doing it, but shadowing forced my brain to process English in real time without translating. It trained me to think and respond quickly, almost like an instant reaction. I made shadowing part of my daily routine. Even 5 minutes a day made a big difference. After weeks of practice, I noticed that certain expressions and sentence structures started appearing naturally in my own thoughts. Section 5. Journaling in English. Writing was another daily habit that helped me train my brain. Every evening, I wrote a short journal entry in English. It didn't have to be long, just a few sentences about my day. For example, today was busy. I studied in the morning. Later, I went shopping with my friend. I felt happy because I found a book I wanted. Writing daily forced me to think in English, not in my native language. And because I wrote about my real life, it felt relevant and personal. Over time, I could express more complex thoughts without needing translation. Section 6. Thinking aloud. One technique that worked surprisingly well for me was thinking aloud. Instead of keeping all my English thoughts inside my head, I said them out loud when I was alone. For example, while cooking, I'd say, "Now I'm cutting the onions. Next, I'll add some oil." Felt like narrating my day in English. This habit not only helped me think in English, but also improved my speaking confidence. The more I practiced speaking out loud, the less nervous I felt about speaking with real people. Section 7. Eliminating translation. In the beginning, I caught myself translating a lot. I'd think in my native language first and then try to find the English words. That slowed me down. So, I made a rule for myself. Whenever I didn't know how to say something in English, I avoided translating word for word. Instead, I looked for simpler ways to express the same idea. For example, if I wanted to say, "I feel under the weather," but I didn't know that phrase yet, I simply said, "I feel sick." This strategy taught me to be flexible. Instead of freezing because I didn't know the exact translation, I kept my thoughts flowing in English using words I already knew. Section 8. Learning chunks, not just words. Another key to training my brain was learning chunks of language, ready-made phrases, instead of just single words. For example, instead of memorizing only the word hungry, I learned the full phrase, "I'm hungry." Instead of only tomorrow, I learned, "Tomorrow I will." Chunks made it easier to think in complete thoughts. My brain didn't have to build sentences from zero. It simply recalled ready-to-use phrases. This made thinking in English much faster. Section 9. Immersion in daily life. I also created an English environment around me, even though I wasn't living in an English-speaking country. I changed the language on my phone and computer to English. I listened to English music. I watched movies and YouTube videos in English. I followed social media accounts that posted in English. By surrounding myself with English, I gave my brain constant input. Slowly, English stopped being just a subject to study. It became part of my everyday life. And that's when thinking in English became natural. Section 10. Staying consistent. The most important part of all this was consistency. Training your brain is like training a muscle. You don't get strong by going to the gym once, you need regular exercise. I didn't spend hours every day. Sometimes I only had 10 or 15 minutes. But I made sure to practice daily. Small, consistent practice built the habit and made English a natural language inside my head. Section 11. Proof it works. When I first started, I could barely form sentences without translating. But after 3 months of daily practice, I noticed something amazing. Sometimes my first thought was in English, not my native language. For example, I'd wake up and think, "I'm tired," in English without even trying. That was the moment I realized my brain had started switching languages. After 6 months, conversations felt easier. I wasn't translating as much. I was responding naturally. And after a year, English had become a natural part of my thinking process. Section 12. How you can start today. Now, let me give you a simple plan you can follow starting today to train your brain to think in English. Start small. Name objects around you in English. Add short phrases like, "I'm hungry" or "I need water." Make daily decisions in English. Think about food, plans, and tasks in English. Practice shadowing. Spend 5 minutes repeating sentences from a podcast or video. Keep a daily journal. Write a few sentences about your day in English. Think aloud. Narrate your activities out loud when you're alone. Stop translating. Use simple words to keep your thoughts flowing in English. Learn chunks. Focus on phrases, not just single words. Surround yourself with English. Change your phone language, watch shows, listen to music. Stay consistent. Even 10 minutes a day is powerful if you do it daily. If you follow these steps, your brain will slowly switch to English thinking, and your fluency will improve naturally. Section 13. The biggest lesson. The biggest lesson I learned is this: fluency isn't about knowing every grammar rule or every vocabulary word. Fluency is about training your brain to think in the language so you can speak and understand without hesitation. And that training doesn't happen overnight. It's built day by day, thought by thought. Every time you choose to think in English instead of your native language, you're rewiring your brain. Conclusion. So that's how I trained my brain to think in English daily. I didn't need special classes or expensive tutors. I used simple daily habits: naming objects, making decisions in English, shadowing, journaling, thinking aloud, avoiding translation, learning chunks, and immersing myself in the language. Over time, those small habits transformed my thinking, and English became natural. And you can do the same. Start today. Even one small English thought is progress. Keep going, and one day you'll realize you're not just studying English anymore, you're living it. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. And if you want more practical strategies for improving your English naturally, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Thank you for watching, and remember, the more you think in English, the more fluent you become.